I think it looks really bright, actually.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Good. I know I look really pale, but I think that's just because I've been sick. So I can't take off my glasses. I get a weird glare with my glasses off the computer. But anyways, okay. So I don't know if any of you were on Pam's Crystal Zoom last night, but I was really inspired by it, and actually something Pam talked about kind of sparked something that I was going to talk about. Actually, I think at our last team meeting maybe, but I had forgotten my notes on it. Imagine that. So actually it just made me start thinking about it again, so I wanted to talk about it. And it is the, how to create action. So I think it was Josh did this at a training a while back, earlier this year or maybe a year ago. I don't know if you can see this. So it's got the potential, action, belief, and results. And basically what he had asked is, he said, where do you start? Most people think that they start with the potential. That's our first mistake. We think, well, this business has potential. We know it has potential. We know that we have potential. We know that the company has potential. But that's where we get stuck, is we get stuck at the potential and we're not sure how to create the action or get the results. And it actually all starts with belief. If you believe you can do it, if you believe that we have these amazing products that do what they say that they're going to do, and we have the best system, the best company, that is just going to naturally create action because you're going to be passionate about it. So the example that I hear used all the time, and I think Josh used this example, and I think Pam mentioned it last night in her video too, or her Zoom too, is the 4-minute mile. Everybody always thought it was impossible to run a 4-minute mile. Well, then when one man finally did it, that belief set in, and within 2 years, I believe 46 other people were able to run the 4-minute mile. So was it just all of a sudden that all these people had, super ability to be able to run this mile? No, it's not. It's the belief that they can do it. When you believe you can do it, you do it. So the belief creates action. Because if you're passionate and you believe that you can do it, you're going to talk about it. You're going to share it. You're going to post about it. You're going to, when people ask what you're doing or what you're using, you're going to automatically start talking about it. That creates action. When you have action, people get results. You're seeing results. You're having customers and distributors sign up. You're getting those results, which then increases your belief. So a lot of people get stuck in that, especially when they are first getting started, because they don't quite have the belief that yet. They may have some results of their own, or maybe they know somebody, they started because, like Karen, you started because you had some product results yourself, and you were also seeing me be successful with the company and all that. So you had some belief there. But it takes time to build that passionate belief. And as you're building that passionate belief, that's when the action and the results take place. And a lot of times people are consistent and they're talking and they're posting and they have all this belief and they have all this passion and they're fired up, and they don't see the action or the results right away, and they start to teeter and they start to kind of, maybe not post as much or not, plug in as much. They get busy. It doesn't become, they're losing that excitement and the passion. And that's right about the time that those action and results would start happening, because of how much you're sharing and how much belief you're putting out there in it. So that's why they kind of say you just got to keep being consistent, keep talking about it, keep being passionate about it. Your attitude is contagious. This business, oh my gosh, I can't even talk today. This business is a mindset. It's your decision if you want this or not, because we all have the same opportunity. What the difference is what type of belief and action you're putting into play. So then generally after saying that, people are like, well, what do you mean? How, what action, what should I be doing? What's the magic magic trick to all of this. And it honestly, it's just a combination of things that we should be doing regularly. So a big thing that I found that really helped me is the plugging in, just like you guys are doing right now, you know, whether it's being on, we have a lot of stuff, you know. Crystal has her Tuesday night Zooms now. We have this, we have our conference calls, we have our monthly team meetings. You know, I know that a lot of us are, a lot of leaders are always willing to do one-on-ones, whether it's through the Zoom or through meeting in person or whatever, but just plugging in, and the biggest part of it is it holds you accountable. It helps keep you focused. You know, the whole thing of being around like-minded people that's the type of person you're going to be. So when you're around people that are passionate about the same things, you're going to be, you know, your passion is only going to grow for it, grow with it. Let's see. Game plan and get your goals. You know, I was looking back at some notes that I was going through, and I actually found some goals that I had, my game plan that I had from earlier this year, and I had started at a 5-year goal, a 3-year, a 1-year, and then broken it down to, I think it was 9 months, 6 months, 3 months, a month, weekly, and then daily, which seems like a lot, but they all tie together. You know, my 3-month goal is going to help me get to my year goal, which my year goal is going to help me get to my 5-year goal. It seems like a lot, but it was interesting because when I looked back at it, I actually do a lot of those things every day, and actually met my 1-year goal that I had set out earlier this year, met it earlier this year. So it just kind of goes to show that, you know, when you put your mind to it, you can do it. I always seem to have the best success when I write things down, and I think we talked about this last week or at some point, putting your goals down in front of you, or the I am statements. So the other thing that's really important in this time of year is really important we know that our growth in the company happens generally January, February, March, April, May, like that time of year. It's not that we don't grow during this time of year. We do. We have a lot of people still promoting, a lot of people building and growing. But one thing that is really important is those people that have that business boom at the beginning in those first of the year months, it's because they're taking action now. They're kind of putting in all the prep work now and building those relationships and planting those seeds, so that when January and February come around, what we generally see happen, and I'm sure like Karen, you can probably, and Judy, you could probably vouch to this too, is those of us that work now in these months heading up to Christmas, generally we'll see a huge boom in the business come January, February, because people want to get healthy. New Year's resolutions come out. They want to make changes. And when they decide that they want to do that, who are they going to call? They're going to call the person who's consistent, the person that's talking about it, the person that is continuing to keep that relationship going. Even if people are telling you, well, I'm not interested right now, or I'm too busy right now, or I have to save for Christmas, whatever it may be, keep talking to them and keep that relationship going, because then what happens when they're ready to make that jump in, you know, January, February, they're going to call you because you're the one that, sorry, I'm just looking at the new notes. Tiffany, if you can't hear it, I'm sorry. I don't know if you figured it out, but I am recording it, so you can always try to catch it later. I'm not sure. Just lost my train of thought. So anyways, yes. So that is how people get their business to boom in those months and whatnot. I will say it's a little bit harder this time of year because it can get discouraging when you feel like you're putting all this out there, you're being consistent in your posts, you're doing your follow-ups, you're talking to people, and maybe you're not signing up as many people as you were earlier in the year as when we were busy, but you're still creating that business. I can't tell you how many people that told me, not now, or I can't right now, or I'm not interested, that jumped on board a few months later. And some people even not that long. I had some people decide, well, why not just start now? I had a couple of customers that jumped on board right before Thanksgiving and Christmas last year because they didn't want to gain weight over Thanksgiving and Christmas. They didn't want to wait till that. And there's also a lot of people that do the whole beach vacations during the wintertime, which is our advantage, I think, for being in the northern part of the United States, is that we have a lot of people around us that want to go somewhere warm for vacation. Well, what do they want to do? If they're going on vacation, they want to look good in their swimsuits. So who are they going to call? They're going to call us because we can help them look good in their swimsuits. So there's a lot of things going on that we can still take advantage of. What I find is really good to do during this time of year is to update my hundreds list, to start adding people, to start building new relationships, because I feel like I can spend a little bit more time, because it seems like I'm not quite so busy with just all of the craziness that seems to happen in the first half of the year. I find that this is the time of year to get to events and expos, vendor shows. There's a lot of like arts and crafts shows that pop up right now because people are looking for gifts for Christmas and things like that. So those are really, really good to do. And those are the people to make connections with if you're getting, lead slips from those events. And there's this time of year, there's a lot of events that are reasonable, like $25, I think. And I have a couple that are coming up in November that I can't do. So if anybody that it's in the Cloquet area, so remind me, I'll post about that. Karen?
I just have been thinking myself that now that it's back to school for people who have kids, there's a whole new crew of parents that I haven't met before, whether it's parents of, new kids in my son's class, or like this year we're at a new school, so he gets on the bus with the same bunch of kids. So there's always parents hanging around at the bus stop in the morning because they're still pretty little.
Mm-hmm.
But also like now back to school starts back to activities, Cub Scouts and whatever else. And this is, if you're a parent and if you have active kids or whatever. But I feel like that's another good thing about this time of year as far as building relationships go. There's a good opportunity to have conversations with people maybe that you haven't even in a while because they posted their kids back to school. Oh, look, they're in the 4th grade, whatever, that's a good place to pick up a conversation if it's been a while or you have been trying to figure out, how to start building that relationship again with somebody. This is the perfect time of year to do that because, you can start talking about back to school, how crazy that is. What kind of stuff are your kids doing this year? What kind of things are you doing this fall? And then that's going to lead you right into like, oh, what are you doing for the holidays? Are you traveling anywhere? Do you still see so-and-so, if you know them back from high school or whatever. So I just feel like this is a really prime time to be making those connections. If you feel like, how do I go about doing that? There's a lot of material to work with there as far as how to get to know people and grow your network in that way. So, and even start, this is another good time headed into the winter to start a new, like maybe you're the person who starts a new group, whether it's a book club or a craft night or a wine night, a get together, whatever, and invite some of those new people, and I'm not talking about it works at all. I'm just simply talking about networking. Be like, hey, everybody invite one other person to this thing I'm hosting, whatever it is. So That's my thoughts about that.
Yeah, actually, that is a really good idea. And that just reminds me that I belong to a group that my friend started, and it's called For the Love of Food. And we monthly get together, and everybody, somebody different hosts each month, and we pick a food topic. So like one night we did Asian night. So everybody brought an Asian dish. And, we've done barbecue night. We've done a whole bunch of them. But we take the summer off just because everybody's so busy. And I know that there's actually there's a couple people that moved away. And so I think we invited a few new people to our group. So I'm kind of excited for that. But yeah, just things like that. And it doesn't have to be anything like expensive or super time consuming or anything like that. There's so many things, like you said, book clubs or cooking things like we're doing or something like that. The other thing that reminded me when you were talking, Karen, is one thing, and actually I haven't done it yet this year, and that's what made me think about it, but I usually do, I've done it every other year, is what I usually do is I usually will take just little sample baskets or bags into my kids' schools and hand them out to their teachers. And I always try to include greens and greens chews and just do like a little card saying, I know that back to school time, being a former teacher, that's usually when, you get your colds and pick up those germs and whatnot. Here's a little something to help, boost your immune system or keep you healthy. And thank you for being an awesome teacher. I've had a few teachers actually become customers just from doing that. And, I've had some too that are just kind of like, no, thank you. But generally when you gift it to them, they're not going to turn around and tell you no, thank you and give it back. They usually are genuinely thankful. And, actually I had one teacher tell me that, because I had given, I think one year I had given all the teachers like a week's supply of greens with a little card. And I had the one teacher tell me, he was a high school teacher, and he's like, yeah, my students kept taking them and using them. They love them. And I'm like, well, okay, I'm glad your students love them. You should buy them for your students then. But whatever. So, but it was good to hear that somebody was using them and liking them. So that was another thing. One of the things that I like to do when I'm updating my list is I try to think of different ways. Like we have the memory jogger in there, which is helpful, but I try to think of different ways to add people. And so some of the things that I've done in the past when I've updated my list is I've written down people I don't like, people that I think are negative, people that I think are positive, people that I feel like are gonna tell me no and never want to be involved. And then at one point, I think I went through my Facebook list and I wrote down everybody who was 18 plus, whether they were 18 or 99, they went on my list. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to contact and, hit up each and every person on this list, but what it does is it's a memory jogger. So if I write down somebody that I don't like, might not necessarily be reaching out to that person, or I might, and it's not going to hurt my feelings if they say no. That's one thing that I like, is if it's somebody that I really don't care for, it really doesn't bother me if they tell me no. All I tell myself is there's another no closer to my next yes, and I can check it off, and it's practice, it helps get over some of that fear. I have a harder time approaching people that I do care for and I value their opinion versus the people that I don't. Just because, and I think that's why I don't have a lot of my family using the products or involved, just because I value, their opinion. And I know that it's not, I know this is good for them and whatnot, but it's just I think it's a different level of, oh man, if they tell me they don't like it, then I have to deal with them on a weekly basis or, every time I see them or something. But so those are some things that I do. But then the one thing that I do also do is, so if I write down someone that I don't like, I will write down like how I know them and then brainstorm, well, is there anybody else? Because I worked with them at a restaurant when I waitressed 10 years ago. Is there anybody else that I remember that maybe I can find on Facebook or something that I did like and I would want to build a relationship with? So that's kind of how I use that to expand my list, especially when I feel like when I've been doing this for long enough where I've really, really, really kind of really hit up my warm market quite a bit, and you have to try to get creative to build that network a little bit more. Those are some things that I do. But if you think about it, if you're constantly expanding your list, and if you try to add 2 people a day, whether it is through social media, work contacts, friends of friends, friends of family members, however it may be, but if you add 2 people a day, 6 days a week, that's 600 new people a year And in 5 years, that's 3,000 new people that you've now networked with. And it doesn't necessarily mean that these people are all going to be customers or distributors or anything like that, but those are 3,000 new relationships that, of course, you're going to build new relationships off of. And so if you just kind of think about that expansion of numbers, can you network with two new people a day, 6 days a week? Well, sure. They might not all turn out into something. I might start up that conversation with the lady at the grocery store or something, and it may not get to the point where she's interested in being friends, but it might. But I've started, building that relationship. But that's generally my goal, is to try to be adding, on average 2 people a day to hit that. And I would say, I think that's pretty accurate, because when I started It Works, I had less than 300 friends on Facebook. And I think I'm somewhere over 1,500 now. And so, and it's been 5 years. So haven't added 3,000 people, but that's just through Facebook. And there's plenty of people that I know, and even that I have as customers, and even some team members that aren't on Facebook or I'm not friends with on Facebook. So it definitely is worth it. But then, as Karen was saying, network on purpose, join groups, get out there and do different hobbies, gyms, volunteer. Volunteering is a great one, because generally it's something people are passionate about, and you're giving back, and it feels good, and you can naturally make a lot of connections that way. I know our time is valuable, so it might not always be that option, but if you can even do, an hour once a month, that volunteering your time somewhere, how great is that? Not just for It Works stuff, but just for in general, just for giving back. I was reading in one of my self-development books, and it talked about, I'm trying to remember the specifics of it. There was, somebody who was wanting to accomplish something or do something. Oh, I remember it was a lady that was very, very ill with MS, and her doctor recommended that she give away something of hers, personal item, one a day for 29 days. And she kind of thought it was silly, and she's like, what difference is it going to make? How is this going to help my MS? But then she was feeling pretty miserable, so she's like, what the heck, I'll do it. So I think she started, her first day, I think she called a friend and just told them that she appreciated them and just had a really good conversation. And then she started, I think, doing some cards, and then I think she started giving away some of her actual personal items that were important to her, but she felt like somebody could use, and kind of a pay it forward type thing. And she said that about halfway through the 29 days, she actually felt better. She felt healthier. She wasn't showing her symptoms as much, and it was just kind of a weird phenomenon that kind of happened. And she actually went on to write a book. I think it's actually called 29 Days or something like that. And she was on, I don't know if it was Good Morning America or some talk show. They interviewed her about, she basically healed her MS through the act of giving. But it was something that I think she felt good about herself for doing it, and people were very appreciative towards her. And it's just the amazing thing of the power of emotion and feeling, and how it can change us or help us feel better. Anyways, that's kind of off on a tangent, but just building and networking on purpose, and getting out there and making connections can help, especially during this time of year. Just because, like I said, the more connections and seeds you have planted now, the bigger your business is going to boom come January, February. So I think, let me see. Oh, I was going to touch a little bit on income producing activities. I know that we have talked about this before. Some of the things that Pam mentioned last night is what she considers an income producing activity. And this is something that I do, and I never realized that I could count it as an income producing activity, but it was the opening your mouth. Whether you're just sharing while you're in line at the grocery store, if you're actually blitzing, if you're doing an expo, if you go somewhere, bring your greens with, drink them in public, because people are going to see that and they're going to ask about it. And it's easy to talk about it when somebody else asks you about it. Wear the gear. They see the shirt. What works? Tell them about it. If someone asks what you do, I struggled with this one for a while, because when I was teaching, it was I was proud of it. I was proud to say, oh, I'm a special ed teacher. I work with behavior kids. It took me a while to flip it and say, I work from home. And actually what I usually say, what comes out of my mouth most naturally, is I usually say I'm a health and wellness coach. Because people are usually like, well, what does that mean? Like, what does a health and wellness coach do? And it just kind of opens up that door. The whole I'm a rap girl thing just doesn't flow. I stumble over that. I know Melissa uses the I'm a greens gal, which I guess I probably could use that too, because the greens have helped me so much. But, doing things like, I'll let my kids eat the chews when we're out in public somewhere. I'm constantly drinking the energy drinks at places. Like, I went and got my hair colored today, and so when I was sitting while she was coloring my hair, I was drinking an energy drink. There was like nobody else at the salon, so that was kind of defeating the purpose, but that's what happens when you live in a small town. Just show the fun you're having, when we're out doing things, when we're at our meetings or whatever it may be. Even if you have someone that is excited because they rapped or they shared something with you, you don't have to mention their name if they don't want to, but just talk about that. I'm so pumped. I just got off the phone with my friend, and she told me that she's got so much more energy because of the greens that I shared with her. Stuff like that. Don't downplay what an extra $100 a month can do for someone. I think we kind of get wrapped up in the bonuses and making, income where you can stay at home or work from home and be completely supported off of it. But that's not where we all start. And that's not what's going to reach a lot of people. Like when I started, and I know Judy, she laughed at me when I said this, but when I started, after I went diamond, she's like, so when are you quitting teaching? And I said, I'll never quit teaching. That's what I said. I'm like, I'll never quit teaching. I love teaching. Why would I quit? But our whys changed. Our family dynamics kind of changed a little bit, and it just made more sense for us to all of a sudden have that goal. But I never had it as a goal because I didn't think it was possible. I didn't think that it was reasonably something that could happen or that we could do. But at the time when I started, what an extra $200 a month could do for us was huge. And then when I was like, okay, well, maybe an extra 500 or maybe enough to cover my student loans or whatever it was, like, don't downplay that. If an extra $100 covers your gas cost for the month, then great. Talk about it and share it. Or, for me, it covered my product cost when I first started. And I was excited about that because it didn't have to come out of our regular budget. Or, now it seems like it's sports, like for my kids, like everything is like so expensive nowadays. And that kind of stuff can make a difference for people. Like, I don't think people realize how much that stuff kind of can add up quickly, especially when I think younger parents with younger kids start getting their kids into activities, what seems like something that is very reasonable and fun. And then all of a sudden they get older, gets very expensive, but they have passion for it and you want them to be able to do it. And it's like, wow, when did this get so expensive? So just talking about that, that's one thing. I have tons of parents that I talk to that are in, my kids' sports activities, and they're always talking about fundraising and all that kind of stuff. And we don't typically participate in the fundraising unless it's like required, because I dislike fundraising so much. And one of the parents asked, like, how can you guys afford hockey? You guys, don't seem to participate in the optional fundraising. And I'll tell them, I'm like, if it wasn't for my It Works income, My kids probably wouldn't be playing hockey, or I'd still be working 2 or 3 jobs, because that's how we paid for it before, is I waitressed on the weekends after teaching all week. So things like that just make a difference to people. And then constantly always talk about your why. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. What do you think a video is worth? Probably about 1,000,000 words. So they say that, if you want to just write a status, that'll get you, some likes and comments. If you post a picture with it, it's going to get you more. But if you do a video, people usually are really interested in what you have to say, and they just want to see you. They just want to see you and hear the passion that you have, no matter how silly or unsilly it would be. And it surprises me how many people I find out after the fact, like, watch my videos and whatnot. Like, my mother-in-law, actually, I had no idea she had watched my video on the probiotics at all. She didn't like the post. She didn't say anything about it. And then was over at their house one day, and she started asking me questions, and I started talking about it. And she's like, "Oh, yeah, I remember you saying that in your video." And I was like, "Oh, you watched my video?" She's like, "Oh, yeah, I always watch your videos." I had no idea that she watched my videos, because she's never once liked or commented on them. So it just makes me wonder, okay, how many other people are watching it that don't like or comment? And I never know, but when the timing is right, or when I reach out to them and talk to them about something else, they'll probably bring it up. And I actually just had a family member, Dylan's aunt, just reached out to me. I've never actually met her in person at all. We friended each other on Facebook because we knew we had the family connection. And she reached out to me the other night, and she's like, "Hey, I'm trying to get healthy. I just started going to the gym. What are these greens you keep talking about?" So I'm sending her some samples in the mail, and she's like, "Oh, thank you so much." And I feel kind of weird, because I'm like, "Well, I've never actually met you in person, but you're welcome." So I'm like, I told Dylan, I'm like, next time we go to Indiana, I think we need to go meet this relative of yours, because now I feel kind of obligated since she's interested in stuff. But I mean, before that too, but it's just different, I think, when it's family. Anyways, so I think it's just about being a good friend, care about people, and take people on your adventure with you. And that's just going to give just so much to that relationship, that when the timing's right for them, they'll know who to come to. So that's kind of all that I have. I don't know if anybody has questions or wants to add anything. Just looking.
No, other than, I know you guys that have kids and stuff, you guys have a huge advantage of your networking that are, versus I have to go out and find people, you know what I mean? I have to join things or whatever. Like you guys have a really great little niche to have that, your kids as friends and parents and, that kind of stuff. So use it to your best.
For sure.
It definitely helps, because you are in sports and you're in all different areas with them. And, like that part's really cool, because that you have those contacts that are like, you're like Karen said, our kids go to a different school this year, and, your kids are in a different grade and they're with different kids each year. And that's what's cool, especially in those elementary years, definitely.
For sure. It is. I think we make it, I'll just be honest, I think we make the building relationships and networking a lot harder than it needs to be, when really all it is just being a friend and being, sharing and talking. And I can't tell you how many times I've listened to my friends when they've suggested someplace to eat or a movie, or I know, get my hair done, or you know what I mean? Like, or I'll go try a drink at Starbucks because I see somebody else post a picture of a drink on Facebook, and I'm like, ooh, I haven't tried that one yet. I mean, honestly, that's how my brain works. And if my brain works that way, majority of
people's brains work that way.
Yeah. Yep. So Karen, were you gonna?
I was just gonna say that I think also that, like you were saying, networking, we make it harder than it really is. And I think that showing up at different events or whatever activities and bringing our products with or wearing the gear, I think then also puts more of a person to the Facebook page, like, so if you are already Facebook friends with somebody, but you're not day-to-day face-to-face kind of friends, if you get out there and people see you at the common events that you might have, whether like, so I live in Duluth and there's all kinds of stuff through the summer that happens at Bayfront, right? And so when you go to the activities, you rub elbows with the same people at those kind of things, and those are probably people who you are Facebook friends with, but then when they see you there for real, it's just they get a broader understanding of what the products are, what the company is, and who you are as a person representing that. You know what I mean? Because some people maybe feel turned off about the Facebook part of it, if that's not, doesn't really work for them, even though they see it, but some people are like, oh, like they're making judgments or whatever about us as people. Not everybody, but some people, and that's what we're faced with. But I feel like when you get out there in the real world and are carrying it through and being consistent, not just on Facebook, but out in your real life, then it's just more multidimensional, and so, and I don't even necessarily, if I'm, connecting with somebody that I know I have as a Facebook friend, I'm not even going to talk about the product. You know what I mean? I'm already wearing the gear. I'm just going to be myself and be the person that they like already anyways, and just be that person and let them open up the conversation if they want to, which they usually will, so there's knowing who your audience is. And if it's somebody that you don't know, you don't have on Facebook, then you want to make that connection and become friends that way, if that's how you do most of your, posting or connecting or whatever. But I still think it's important to know when to just be yourself in an environment, when to just be yourself, and like when to really, reach out to be selling the product. Does that make sense? I don't know.
It does, for sure.
Yeah.
And it is. It's a people business, and it's not, a lot of other. I kind of feel like a lot of other companies out there, they focus on selling their product, and they may be able to sell it. They may do well at it, but I think that's why a lot of people think network marketing is a scam. Just because, if you take a lot of the other network marketing companies that are out there, they don't have the setup, the comp plan that we do. They don't have the residual income. We have our loyal customers that repeatedly order every month. And, when I think about, like, there's a lot of products out there that I love and use, like Norwex, 31, whatever. But I have like 10 different people that I buy from, and probably could have more, but I have to just kind of tell people no, because I already have so many people that I'm buying from. Now imagine if I'm buying from 10 people, imagine if it was set up so that I was just buying from that one person repeatedly month after month, like we have with our little customer program. And that is what really, I think, makes a difference to why our company is so successful. And it makes it so much easier for us, I feel, that because we don't have to focus on selling all the time. We just can share about the stuff that we love. And once somebody else falls in love with it, then we have that, customer for life. And yes, I know people quit their auto ship, go off and on, but I can't tell you how many people that I have that maybe they don't order every month, but I have this one guy who, I don't even know where he lives. He lives somewhere in southern Minnesota and was up vacationing in Duluth, Superior area. And I was doing the vendor event in Superior on Wednesdays over the summer at the Business Improvement District / with the farmers market across the street. And he came by the booth and we started chatting, and he was looking for a good multivitamin. And so he filled out a lead slip. I think I followed up with him like 5 or 6 times, and he was always like, I'm just really not quite ready yet. Then one day he called me out of the blue and he's like, all right, I'm ready. And he signed up as a loyal customer, and he ordered products pretty regularly. But then he works for himself. And so I don't know if he goes through periods of time where he seems like he's maybe has extra money, and then other times where his business is slower and he doesn't. So he orders, like, I see his orders come through like once every 2 to 3 months, and he'll do a big bulk order. But I bet he's probably used the Vitals. And then last year we talked quite a bit, and I convinced him to add the minerals and omegas. So now he does basically the pack, and he'll just order it in bulk enough for him to last him a few months. And he knows that he could probably get a better deal if he just did the auto ship, but because of his financial situation, it just makes sense for him to do it the other way. But he told me, he's like, well, I may not order every month, but I'll use these forever. And I honestly believe him, because I think this has been probably 3 or 4 years now that he just will randomly order every couple of months. And we actually communicate through email, which is different for me because I don't have a lot of customers that I do that with. And every time we have a new product out, I'll send him information on it, and sometimes he'll order it, sometimes he won't. But it's just kind of one of those things where, when somebody finds a product that's good and they like it and they know it's good, they'll continue to use it. And, I have 100% faith that that's what our products do, and that's what they are. It's just sharing and, getting people to know that. And so I just think of it as, it's just like I'm sharing a good book, or just like I'm sharing where to get a good cup of coffee, So anyways, does anybody have any questions or comments?
Amelia, can I piggyback off of something that kind of stuck with me from last night?
Yep.
So it goes off of the whole follow-up thing. And I know we've talked about this before, but she had said, be consistent with your follow-ups. And I don't have it written down right in front of me because school night, trying to do last minute things. But I wrote it down last night, and I just don't have it in front of me. And I know we've seen it before, follow up with, so many people sign up, after you follow up with them once, blah, blah, blah. But the average is what, I think 8 times before they will, make a commitment. So if they are saying no, and if they are, not getting back to you or whatnot, keep following up with them, because, Jane Doe from down the road might follow up with them for the 6th time, and they're going to go with her because she's that person. So just to be consistent and try to find that, I don't know, that was just something that kind of really stuck with me funny. And then the other thing that she had said was she was going through her messages, and there was, she was finding that she was like, oh yeah, I'll follow up with you on Tuesday. And that was 3 years ago. So I don't know. I just thought it was kind of funny. I chuckled so hard last night, and I was like, oh yep, I know I have that. But the positive side is I'm 6 months in, not, 3 years in. So and I guess that's where I'm focusing on right now with the downtime is, trying to find the good system that really truly is going to work for me. So that's one of the things that stuck with me that I just wanted to, I guess, reiterate on.
Yeah, for sure. And I will tell you, it's happened to me both. Actually, it's happened to me. I've followed up with somebody a few times and then stopped following up with them, and then found out a few months down the road that they signed up underneath somebody else. And it's the exact same. It's not that I was doing anything wrong. It's just that they weren't quite getting it and they weren't quite ready. And had I followed up that 1 more time or 2 more times, they probably would have been ready. What I did is I exposed them to it, and I planted that seed, and then somebody else came along and happened to follow up and ask them, and then they were ready. And that happens a lot, I think. So it is that they said 8 or 9 times. I think statistically they say 7 to 15 times. Somebody needs to be exposed to something or see something before it actually registers in their brain that, oh, this might be something that I'm interested in.
So that's going to say that if you followed up with somebody once a week, that could be 3 to 4 months of back and forth before they decide that they're ready. So that's a long time, much longer than people think, and we talk a lot about this business that people wanted to grow overnight. And for some people it happens really fast, and for other people it's slower to grow. But, just that discussion of numbers right there shows that although you can start quickly, to grow a good solid business takes time, and I think what you just said shows that. I was just thinking about,
Well, and it also depends, like sometimes some people come in and they have like, that was my only job. So, and I didn't have little kids at home, so I could go out every weekend and work events. I don't do that so much anymore necessarily, but because you have to find some balance now that, you know, my husband's retired and stuff. But I think it depends on how many hours you're willing to put in, how fast you might grow too.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like how fast you grow, depending on the follow-up. So like if you're working event after event after event, you're getting lots of new contacts. So your numbers statistically are going to be faster, you know?
Right.
If we're saying it takes, you know, between 7 to 14 times, you know, because the other thing is you don't want to be, you know, pestering somebody unless you are in a ongoing back and forth conversation. But if you're not, you don't want to be over.
And also you want to be following up with those leads. So a lot of people will do event after event after event, and you kind of wonder, well, why aren't they getting anything from it? And it's a lot of times it's maybe because they're not really following up, or maybe not following up the, you know, maybe there would be a little bit better way to follow up or something. So
yeah,
for sure.
Oh, I was thinking about, we've mentioned this before a while ago, but I found it so helpful to me, is talking about the volley of conversation, and that there should be like, you know, 3 non-it works related back and forths between each it works related thing, you know, when you're building relationship or whatever. Because sometimes when we're in a period where we're trying to grow fast or wanting to grow fast, you like let go of the building a relationship and just like, how about this deal? What about this special? Are you interested in that promotion? What about this new product? And then people are like, what? You know, so making sure that you continue to have communication of stuff unrelated to it works to build that relationship, so that they aren't just like ignoring your messages or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. All right, I think we're gonna wrap it up. Thanks for being on, and I will upload this and get it posted. I will try to post it in both groups, but last week's video was so long, it took like 2 hours to upload just into the one group, so.
Can you upload it somewhere else and do a link?
I don't know, because Zoom uploads it to my computer, so I guess I could probably upload it. I could try uploading it from my computer to YouTube, maybe, and then just share the YouTube link.
Yeah, I don't know if that would be quicker. I have no idea, but
I don't know. I'll try it. I mean, either way, it's probably, I mean, it's going to take a while. Either way, that's what it is when it's an hour video. But I mean, I don't mind. It's just one of those things, like last week, I wanted to go to bed and I kept walking by my computer and it kept like showing 68% completed. I'm like, oh my God, like, come on. And like, I had to make sure my computer wouldn't go to sleep. So I was like, kept walking by and doing the mouse.
Yeah. Stay awake.
Yep. All right. So we won't have a Zoom next week because we have the OTOM. But for those that aren't able to make it, I'm hoping that when we cover the stuff, because what we're going to be talking about is whatever they do at the training in Chicago this weekend. But we'll be talking about that stuff. So I'm hoping that maybe someone can live it, or maybe even just record it and upload it to the group or something when we're doing the piece of it, the Chicago stuff.
Did the leadership thing get postponed?
The Zoom for tonight, yeah.
Tonight? Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
They're going to do it next week, which actually works out fine, I guess, since we don't have a Zoom next week. Then we don't have to do Zooms back to back.
Yeah.
Not that I usually mind, but I suppose I could probably pay some attention to my kids. I just have one kiddo here tonight, so. All right.
All right.
All right. See you later.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Night.